Hey folks, welcome to this week's episode of Kickstarter Real Estate Investing. In this week's episode, I'll walk you through a very simple to use underwriting spreadsheet. This will allow you to start looking at properties, putting in the numbers, and very quickly figure out whether it's a good investment based on your goals or not. Okay, so let's get started and let me walk you through a very simple to use investment underwriting spreadsheet. Thank you. All right, so now let's go through this spreadsheet, which is a very simple cash flow and a cash on cash return investment feasibility calculator. So the whole goal here is that you should be able to fill up all the details which is marked in this particular color of brown, and it should, in within 5 minutes of you filling everything up, you should be able to get and see what is the cash flow per month, what is the annual cash flow, and what are the cash on cash returns, right? So those are the two main metrics you need to look at: is what is your cash flow per month or the annual cash flow, and what is the cash on cash returns you're getting on this particular property, right? So the cash on cash return is a formula where you can take your net cash flow and you divide that by the total cash invested, and that will tell you the return you should be getting on the investment which you're making. Okay, so let's take an example and I'll walk you through each and every field so you know what you're doing here. Ideally, what you should do is use this as a template, create a copy of it, and then put in the address of the property you're working with. So let's say you're working with 123 Main Street, and this is in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then basically this particular sheet is you're doing it for this particular property, right? So when you underwrite the next property, change the address and change the numbers, so that way you can look back and see that why did you not go with a particular property, and you can see the numbers and you can make sense of it. Okay, so again, your goal is to fill up all the cells which are shaded in this color of brown. So let's say the purchase price, this is the simplest. You looked at a property and let's say you found it on Zillow, and then you say, okay, so this property is worth 300,000, right? So you say it's 300,000. You decide what the down payment is. Generally, they would expect at least 20 to 25% down payment on a conventional loan. So it's 20, and you can play with this number. You can say 10% here or whatever you are able to get a loan for. Ideally, you will be getting a loan with a 20% down on an investment property. Closing costs, this is again just an estimate. I just put 1% of closing costs. This is not a very complicated deals like single family home. Most of your closing costs are going to be more on the borrowing, on the lending side of this. But still, we'll keep 1% of it just to show that this is the cost which you can have. Points, if you are buying points, then this particular cost will come here. Again, the whole goal here is we're trying to understand what is the amount of money you need to bring to the table when you are looking at this particular opportunity, right? Rehab cost, if you have a specific rehab which you already know you're going to do, like you're going to go and change the countertops, you're going to do some cabinet work, you're going to go and create a patio, anything you know you will be doing at this property to improve the value of it, you put the amount here. Again, whatever you put in this for cells here will affect your cash on cash returns, right? So this is what we're going to use. All right, coming back to this side, right? And so you already said that, okay, the purchase price is 300,000. The mortgage amount, this is calculated by subtracting the 60,000, which is the down payment, 20% of 300,000, and you get a mortgage amount of 240,000. Mortgage interest rate, this will be the prevailing rate which you see in the market. You can talk to some of the lenders and they'll tell you what the rates are. In today's market, 7% is the normal rate, and you normally will go with a 30-year fixed mortgage. There are also other mortgages like you can go and do an ARM, and I'm going to have another episode. We're going to talk about different types of mortgages you can have, which will help you reduce the interest you pay now and the risk you might have in the future. So it's a trade-off, and we'll talk more about it in that episode. Here, I'm just keeping it simple so it's easier to understand. Payments per year, usually you do a monthly payment, so the payment per year is going to be 12. Gross rent, this is the most important part. This is the revenue coming in. Let's assume you are able to get a revenue of $3,000 per month from the gross rent perspective. And other income, let's assume you are able to get a $50 for a pet charges. You're allowing a pet to be brought into this particular house. So you're going to charge $50 for that. So your monthly gross income is $3,050. Your annual gross income is simply a multiplication by 12. So that is $36,600. So that is the gross income coming in for you. Okay. Now we go through the reserves. Now here you can play with these numbers based on where you are investing. your reserves will change, or what type of property you're investing in. So vacancy reserve, this is normally between 3 to 7% depending on what kind of place you're renting out of, and you might be able to go to Zillow and see how long does it take for a particular property to be leased, right? And that might be a reserve you have to keep. Again, you can pick this number, you can make it 3%, you can make it 5%, whatever number makes sense for you, which you feel is an accurate depiction of the vacancy in your particular property area which you're looking at. Okay. Maintenance reserve and capex. So these are the two reserves which we spoke about in previous episode. The maintenance reserve is what kind of maintenance you expect out of the property. So you take, like, again, it's a reserve. You can go from 5% to 10%. In this example, I've said it's a 5% of rent. So it takes 5% of the gross rent and then basically goes and takes 5% of that, right? And so the gross rent per month is $3,000. It just takes 5% of that. So it's $150. And your capex reserve is also very similar to that. It's like 5%. It's $150. So annual total reserves, the reserves you keep on the side, is $5,400. So whatever is left after that is your annual gross operating income, which is $31,200. Okay. So this side of it you are captured in terms of the gross income coming in and what are the different reserves you are kept on the side for it. Now we start looking at all the expenses. Now, property taxes, you normally will find it on a Zillow listing itself. And in the next episode, we'll take a live Zillow listing and again go through this. So it allows you to fully understand all the numbers properly and where we get all those numbers from. So the property taxes, let's say you looked into Zillow and you found out it's like $500 per month. Property insurance, you did an estimate, you spoke to an insurance provider and it says it's $100. HOA dues. This again is provided most of the time on the listing, or you can find out from the realtor or the real estate agent who is working on the buyer side to provide you that information. Lawn maintenance. Now here mostly I put things like fertilizing a lawn or taking care of the landscaping, because many of the things the tenant will not take care of it for you. You have to take care of it. But let's say you just put like $25 just to make sure that you're accounting for some money for that. Property management, if you bring a property manager, this is where you put in. Most of the single family homes you can self-manage, so I'll just put 0 here. Appliance warranty, if you're buying any warranty, you put that number here. I'm just going to put 0 for now. And if you look, your monthly operating expense is $675, which leads to an annual operating expense of $8,100, and this now becomes your NOI. This is basically your annual gross operating income minus your annual operating expenses, and then you get $23,100 as your NOI. What you'll also see is that based on the interest rate, the years, the term, the payments, and the mortgage amount, this second tab goes ahead and calculates everything and basically tells you that your mortgage interest on an average per month is going to be $1,393.56. Your mortgage principal, which is the pay down which you're making, is going to be $203. And PMI, if applicable, you would put this amount here. Normally PMI comes into play if you're putting less than 20% down payment. Most of the investment properties you will not have that benefit. So most of the time your PMI is going to be 0. Okay. So your monthly debt service expense is $1,596.73. Your annual debt service expense is $19,160. And then it will come back and tell you your cash flow per month is $328, which is basically took your net operating income and went ahead and deducted the debt services. So that's your monthly cash flow. And your annual cash flow is $3,939.29, which is basically a 12-month multiplication of your cash flow. And your cash on cash return is now 6.3. So it basically takes your annual cash flow and then divides that by the total cash invested, which is $62,400. So this way you can very quickly plug in some of the numbers and come into a conclusion whether these numbers make sense for you. Are you okay with this cash flow? Are you okay with this cash on cash return? Do you want more cash on cash returns? So based on that, you would then go ahead and look at more properties, or if the numbers make sense, you are confident that they can move ahead and to take it to the next stage of basically going in and putting an offer for that property. Okay, so folks, this was a very simple to use spreadsheet. I'm going to put the link for this spreadsheet in the comment section of the YouTube video. Have a look at it, and then you can also play around with some of the numbers, and you can very quickly use this spreadsheet to underwrite any properties you want from a single family perspective. Okay, next week we'll take a live example and walk through the numbers and where to look for the numbers, and then put those values in here. Hope you like this. If this episode was helpful to you, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.